Episode number 829. Facts tell, stories sell.
You're listening to the official BNI podcast with BNI founder and Chief Visionary Officer, Dr. Ivan Misner. Stay tuned for networking and referral marketing tips from the man who's been called the father of modern networking, along with suggestions and insights into getting the most from your membership in the world's largest networking organization, BNI.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the official BNI podcast. I'm Priscilla Rice, and I'm coming to you from Live Oak Recording Studio in Berkeley, California, and I'm joined on the phone today by the founder and the Chief Visionary Officer of BNI, Dr. Ivan Misner. Hello, Ivan. How are you, and where are you?
Well, I just got back from Venice, Italy, where we did a regional event, and I took a few days off at the same time in Venice. And I am on my way this week to Florida for BNI Cruise, the U.S. member extravaganza winners. And so
fun.
Still traveling for BNI quite a bit.
Fun. And who's on the podcast today?
Well, we have somebody who has been on a couple of podcasts, Charlie Lawson. Charlie has been on twice, episode 746 and episode 588. It's great to have Charlie back a third time. Charlie likes to call himself an unnatural networker, and most experts talk about networking as though it's easy to talk to strangers. Charlie helps other unnatural networkers, introverts, I would say, gain confidence by putting networking across from the point of view of someone who'd rather avoid it completely. Charlie's he's a highly regarded keynote speaker and author, and he gained his expertise from 13 years as national director for BNI in the UK and Ireland, and he now trains other unnatural networkers and probably a few natural networkers as well, particularly those in professional services sector to achieve success from networking. Charlie, welcome back to BNI Podcast.
Thanks for having me on, Ivan. It's great to be on.
Well, it's good to have you here. Today, we're going to talk about facts tell and stories sell. Could not agree more with that. So give us your perspective, Charlie, why stories are so incredibly powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, facts tell, stories sell is definitely something I've heard you say before, but I think I'm talking about stories from the context of how BNI members, and indeed anyone who wants to grow their business through networking, perhaps can use stories to make a difference in their weekly chapter meeting. I'll give you a good example when we're talking about stories is to tell you a story. So let me dive straight in, and then we'll look at what the story said. So this is a story about a BNI member, travel agent, a lady called Marie, and she was sat in her office at about 5:45 on a Friday afternoon. Now, I don't know about you listening to this, I don't know about you, Ivan, but at 5:45 on a Friday afternoon, are we proactively thinking, right, let's do business, let's move the business forward, let's see what we can do? No. Of course we're not. We're thinking about the weekend as she was, and she had some friends coming over and they were going to have a takeaway meal, and she was kind of deciding what she was going to have off the menu. That was where her mind was. Anyway, call goes off in her office, and there's a lady on the other end of the line who's very obviously upset. She's crying. And Mary says, well, what's going on? How can I help? And it turned out that this lady was due to get married the next day on the Saturday, and then fly off on a honeymoon from the UK, this was to the Caribbean, and she was due to fly on the Sunday. But the problem was, and the reason she was upset is because there were no flights to the Caribbean. There was a strike. I don't know what exactly was the problem, but there were no flights. There was nothing going on. There was no way they could fly, and effectively, honeymoon ruined, but potentially, that ruins the whole experience of getting married. And she was calling up Mary, just saying, look, is there anything? I know it's last minute, but is there anything you could do? Marie didn't want to promise anything because this was last minute, but she said, let me see what I can do. And she just asked one question. She said, where are you going to be tomorrow morning, i.e. on the morning of the wedding? And the lady said, I'll be getting ready for it at her mum's house, gave her the address, put the phone down, and Marie picked it up again, called a couple of contacts. She went online and she managed to source exactly the same type of holiday. So same spec hotel, same date, same budget, even down to a couple of the excursions that they'd planned. The only difference was it wasn't in the Caribbean, it was in Hawaii. Next morning, she went round to this lady's mum's house, said to Marie, there you go, there's the tickets. There'd normally be a £150 late booking fee for this, but hey, that's my wedding present to you. I hope you have a wonderful time in Hawaii, and I hope you obviously have a lovely day today. Story didn't finish there, though, because about 3 weeks later, Marie was sat in her office again, and she received a postcard through the door. On one side, on the postcard, was this idyllic Hawaiian beachside scene. On the other, just a few short words. We don't know what we'd have done without you. End of story. My question, I mean, I would, you couldn't be answering this if you're listening to this, but Ivan, tell me what you think. Would you refer business to Marie based on what you just heard?
Absolutely. No question about it.
Yeah. Exactly. And this is the thing where stories cut so powerful for members is they help you get remembered. They help you get recalled by different members in your chapter during the course of their working week, and they help me get referrals. Remembered, recalled, and referred. That's what happens when you tell good stories like that. The challenge is, and I'll let you come in just for a second, challenge is that sometimes the stories you'll hear don't always hit the mark. And I've got a couple of points to help with that in a second. But yeah, I'll let you come in for a moment.
Well, listen, I love that phrase, remembered, recalled, referred. I think that's a great way of remembering what you want in a story, in a BNI context. And, if you tell a really good story like that, other people are able to repeat it. Even if it hadn't happened to them, they could say, great travel agent, I have a friend, this is an experience that she had. And you're almost able to repeat it, word for word, because it was such a detailed story that the person gave. So yeah, stories are really, really powerful. And that's a great example of one.
Exactly. And yeah, it's that ability to recall, I think, is really powerful. But sometimes, and I've definitely heard BNI members say, I've had this many times in my years as national director of BNI in the UK and Ireland, I'd have people say, well, look, I get it. I know I'm supposed to tell stories. I can understand why they're powerful, but mine never hit the mark. I don't get people going out sharing the stories. So I started to look at it, and effectively, it's a bit like when making a recipe, baking a cake, for example. You've got your ingredients list. When you're building a story, you've got to put the right ingredients in. Because let's face it, not everyone is a master storyteller. It takes some work and practice to make it happen. So I've got 6 things that I think I'll quickly run through them just that I would encourage anyone to put in their stories. First thing is there's got to be a problem. If there isn't a problem, some sort of issue, some sort of challenge, well, you haven't got a story. Simple as that. So there's got to be a problem that needs to be overcome. There's got to be a solution as well. Now, sometimes we think, well, solution's always going to be a happy ending. Sometimes it doesn't resolve in that way, but we've got to see the problem sorted out in some way. You need to have some structure, a sort of start, middle, and end. I'll come back to that in a second. There's a bit more to say on that. The key one for me is emotion. If we're talking about getting people to really not only remember it, but recall and retell that story, as we were just saying, it's when they feel the emotion, what the person's in the story is going through and what they're feeling and their challenges. Take Marie with the travel agent with this lady. We just want to know, did the lady get to go on a honeymoon? That was. It's just that emotion, because we kind of find ourselves putting in their shoes. You've got to have some characterization. The goodie, the baddie, the person who's got a problem to solve. You've got to have all those. And I think the last one as well that really makes a difference to the story is just putting in a couple of details. You can't overfill it with details. It would just get unwieldy. But as an example, when did the call come into Marie's office? It came in at 5:45. And we remember that because we were talking about, what she deciding what she was going to do that evening, what takeaway was she having. So just a couple of details like that can really help. So all of that, those ingredients go in. The key, though, as I said, was getting the emotion right. And I said I'd come back to the structure, and I kind of divide the structure into 3 areas. You've got the setup where you lay out the problem, lay out the characters, who's in it, what's the issue, what are they going through, where are they? You've got, in terms of this type of story, this is a member telling a story about their business. You've got what they as the member did to solve it. And then you've got the afters, what happened after the story finished. Did everyone sail off happily into the sunset, or what happened afterwards? So in those 3 sections, set up what you did and afters, you then can weight your story appropriately. The challenge is, as I said, many people BNI members don't get their stories, don't quite hit the mark. It's because they put too much weighting on the what you did bit. Now, I'll give you some percentages here. I like to weight the importance of these three sections in percentage terms.
Yeah, we've got a couple more minutes, so
I will be quick with this. Yeah. I'll be really quick. The setup, I give it 47.5% of importance. I give the afters 47.5%. I'm very precise on these numbers. And that's right. For maths fans, that means only 5% of the importance comes from what you did. Because here's the thing. What you do is actually really boring. I'll say that politely, obviously, because what you do is your life's work and your business and you love it. But what you do from a storytelling point of view is actually not interesting at all. It's boring from the point of view of the story. What we want to hear about is how the client felt. How did they feel beforehand? You know, they were obviously worried about something, upset about something, got an issue, need something sorted. How did they feel afterwards?
Yes.
Did you save them time, money? Did you let them go on their honeymoon? Whatever it was. And it's those bits that create the emotion and get people remembering and recalling your story. So, yeah, it's not what you do. It's how the client felt about you and what you did both before and after. That's the key to a good story.
Well, this is great content, Charlie, and I think members all over the world could use this. I have one quick question. The fifth item, you have problem, solution, structure, emotion, characterization, details. Can you give me just 10 seconds on characterization?
Yeah, characters. I mean, in this one, we've got to, you think of any book, movie,
So you're talking about the characters.
Yeah, the people, the goodie, the baddie, the damsel in distress. Now, sometimes the baddie isn't necessarily a sort of James Bond style baddie trying to plotting to blow up the world, but it's maybe a metaphorical baddie. There's a situation in, Marie's case, this lady can't get to go on a honeymoon. So that's the baddie in this case.
Well, Charlie, this was really valuable information for our members, and I appreciate you taking the time to do this today.
Absolute pleasure.
Priscilla, over to you.
Okay, I think that's it for this week. Thank you so much for that great information. This podcast is sponsored by MeisnerAudioPrograms.com. These audio programs will provide you with the tools and the inspiration to powerfully enhance your BNI experience. So check out the great material available to you at MeisnerAudioPrograms.com and use the promo code IVAN50 for 50% off of everything. All of the proceeds go to the BNI Foundation. Thank you so much for listening. This is Priscilla Rice, and we look forward to having you join us again next week for another exciting episode of the official BNI podcast.